so obnoxious when it's like saying this meeting's being recorded. All righty, welcome everyone. Welcome everybody who's just joining in. We are now live in Facebook. We are recording. Welcome Chris, welcome Harjeet, Jesse, I think that's how you say your name. I just want to say welcome. Welcome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Renee Roberts, and I am a registered health and functional nutrition coach and founder of Nourish to Live RX. And I work with men and women over 40 and help them sleep better and get more energy through the day. So before I introduce our guest speaker, just a few logistics. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to pop them in the chat box or the Q&A box. I have both going. If you feel that you want to ask, come on audio, raise your hand and I'll bring you on and you can actually ask the question live as well. And yeah, I think that is it. So I will introduce our guest speaker, Katrina Houghton. Is that how you say your last name, Houghton?
Houghton.
Houghton? Okay.
Yeah.
I should have asked that before. I've known Katrina for a couple of months now. Fellow coach. So Katrina's going to teach us about, tell us all about burnout and how we can cope with it. So Katrina is a registered reflexology therapist and holds certification as a Reiki Master, a therapeutic hot stone massage practitioner, and a health and lifestyle coach. So with a love for speaking and over a decade of experience in coaching women to success, she enriches women's lives by teaching ways to embrace life, find and create balance and alignment, and most importantly, love who you are, who you've become, and where you are headed. So welcome, Katrina. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So I will give the floor over to you and you can start chatting and yeah. And
Perfect.
Chime in with questions.
Awesome. All right. So I'm Katrina. I also go by the handle The Wellness Boss. That is where you can find me on online on my website. And I am a mother of three. I have three little girls. Actually, they're not really little anymore. They're 17, 15, and 13. And the reason I bring that up is because I think my very first taste of burnout was motherhood. And I wasn't suffering from postpartum. There's a difference between postpartum and burnout. And I didn't know that there was such a thing as burnout being a stay-at-home mom. And my husband was military at the time, and he was never home. So I was left at home with the three kids. And that was just a whirlwind. And what I know now, if I had known that when I was going through having my children so young, I think it would have really helped me navigate that. So that's what I want to share. Also, I have been in the corporate world. So I was a manager of a hotel. My background was hospitality, from my 20s. And kind of fast forward, I then got into all of the natural healing therapies and life coaching and health coaching. But I was falling back on my hospitality industry when I went through a divorce and I needed a job because I had to support my babies. And I experienced burnout as a hotel manager because as the manager, well, you're on call 24/7 and then you have kids. So that's what I kind of want to talk about. Now, I just want to let you know, I have notes here and I have my video camera here. I have to figure out how to get my notes shifted. So bear with me. I do want to really stick to my notes because I am a talker. And my voice is a little hoarse because I talk a lot. And so I just, I want to make sure that I stay on track because I can go down several rabbit holes, man. All right. So I guess I'll just kind of go right into what burnout is, the signs and the triggers. So that's kind of what I talk about first. So burnout is max stress. It is when you are in a state of chronic stress. You are basically physically, emotionally exhausted. And burnout can also parallel anxiety and depression, but anxiety is more when you are suffering from constant worry. And if you are in a state of constant worry for over 6 months, that is called chronic anxiety. And you might want to get some mental health help if you find that you do kind of are in that loop of worry all the time. And then depression is when you have very low self-esteem, feel very low in the self-worth department, have suicidal thoughts, again, that would be a mental health kind of red flag that goes off too. And so there is a difference, but they are very similar, the burnout, anxiety, and depression. And that's why I say, like, when I first experienced burnout, I was exhausted, like, and then you kind of go into like mom robot. And I was like, is this my life? Like, is this all there is to it? You just waking up and everything is the same, and you have to deal with these kids, and I'm trying to raise these kids and be a good mom. And like, don't get me wrong, truly, madly, deeply love my children, would do it all over again. I have the most beautiful, amazing 3 little girls, 3 big girls, whatever. But going through rewinding when they were smaller was definitely really tough for me. Okay. So signs of burnout, I want to talk about like work burnout and home burnout. So feelings of exhaustion, not wanting to go to work. You have no enthusiasm. You are burning through all of your sick days. You just don't care. You kind of numb right out. Those are some of the signs that you could be possibly suffering from burnout. And it's like, basically, it's a lack of boundaries that have been put in place between your personal life and your work life. And that doesn't mean that you're not a hard worker. Like, so many dedicated, amazing hard workers suffer from burnout because there's no proper boundaries that have been set up. So common triggers of burnout: lack of rest, which is basically like little or no vacation. I remember working in the hotel. I was allowed 2 weeks vacation in the entire year. And I had been there, 5 years, and I moved up very fast. But I'm like, I have 3 kids. They have the summer off, and then there's Christmas and there's spring break. I mean, maybe that's normal in the corporate world. That's why I have to be an entrepreneur, because I was like 2 weeks. So I would take and I had to earn that 2 weeks. So the first 2 years, I didn't have any vacation. It wasn't until I was a full-time employee for the first 2 years, and then I was allowed a 2-week vacation, so I could have my first 1 week in the summer and then 1 week at Christmas. And I was adamant about Christmas morning waking up with my kids, especially when Santa Claus existed. So that was not okay. I tell you, before I left, when I was hiring on people and as I trained my staff, and I was slowly going out of corporate and more into full authentic life coaching and health coaching, I was so stressing work-life balance. You need to have your days off. You need to make sure, like anyone that had little ones, we're going to book Christmas morning off for you right away. Let's just do this in advance and make sure that there was always balance, because I didn't want my employees having burnout. So that was important to me as a manager. Okay, so triggers: lack of purpose. So you feel that you're not really in the driver's seat of your life, and you're just kind of working paycheck to paycheck. So you're just kind of existing and paying your bills. And responsibilities are all on your shoulders, and you might feel alone. There's actually 12 stages of burnout, and I have to read them because I do not have them memorized. So the 12 stages of burnout: number 1, it's compulsion to prove yourself. And I don't know, if you're a woman, I think we've all had that. I want to prove to you that I can do this. I'm going to prove to you that I'm a great manager. I'm going to prove to you that I'm a great mom. I'm going to prove to you that I can keep this house together while you're gone. I make sure that my kids are clean, the fridge is full, the clothes are done. I look great, the kids look great. Work, I got to prove to you that I'm there for you. I'm going to take care of this hotel. It's a lot of responsibility. So usually burnout is related to a work imbalance. It's considered a syndrome resulting from workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So we can also hit this as entrepreneurs for sure, because when you're an entrepreneur, it's your business. So I take a break. What? I don't have time for a break. If I'm not seeing clients, then I'm, social media marketing or content creating or, touching base and follow up. And it's
every day is a work day. Yeah, every day is a work day. Yeah,
it's almost worse, but I love it, so it's all good. Okay, number 2, you might find that you're working harder. You get hyper focused and then tunnel visioned. I still, like, I get totally tunnel visioned. I definitely fall into that trap. And, you know, I'm aware of this. So the difference now is that I'm aware of it and I know what to do about it. But when you're not aware of it and you're kind of going through the stages and you're stuck in that loop, that's when there's a problem. And that's when I can help. Number 3 is neglecting your own needs. So you stop giving yourself breaks. You might, you know, you want to just finish one more task, just one more thing to do, one more project, or you decide to just power through the never-ending projects and you forget to eat, drink water, move around, have a pee. You're like, I got to get this done. You're focused, and before you know it, 4 hours have gone by and you haven't even had a sip of water. I have a lot of clients that have fallen into that trap. I'm like, how's your water intake? What's water? Number 4, displacement of conflicts. So you start to repress your needs, deny yourself asking for help. Number 5 is revision of goals. Work becomes more important and you go numb. Number 6 is denial of emerging problems. So you social distance without the government telling you to. You just completely withdraw. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to hang out with anyone. No barbecues, no Friday night, you know, drinks. You become impatient, grouchy, edgy, cranky. Number 7 is withdrawal. You don't want to do anything if it's not related to getting things done at work. Number 8 is obvious behavioral changes. So this could start to trickle into excessive shopping online, drinking, smoking, or eating. Number 9 is depersonalization. So you feel controlled by your life instead of in control of your life. You feel stuck in this cycle. And this could be an emotional burnout cycle or leading into the binge and burnout cycle. And the reason I'm bringing binge in is because I find that the binge and burnout, and that's what I do, is I work with women overcome the binge and burnout cycle so that you can find a balanced life. And binging, I don't know if it's like a symptom or it kind of goes in that loop of when you're stuck in the whole burnout. And binging can be food, alcohol, wine, drugs, Netflix, shopping, sex. Those are some of the binging that people will find themselves caught up in. And then number 10 is a sense of inner emptiness or exhaustion. You're dumb, fearful, and a panic. 11 is depression. And then number 12 is full burnout. You've hit burnout, collapsing mental, emotional, physical breakdown. You're just at your peak. So those are the 12 stages of burnout. I can also, like, I know when I've done this before, I've copied and pasted, so you can throw that up in your group so they can kind of look at that if you want to have it in front of you, because I know I kind of go through it fast. And so, like I say, talking about the binge, sorry, one sec, my kids are, I apologize. Hey, mom's going live. Shh. What? All right, so binge and burnout. So I experienced it when the kids were younger. How did I get through it? I feel like I suffered through it, and it got better as they got older. Like I say, I didn't have any family. As I started to figure out like a bit more of a routine, I started to rely on all of the resources that were available to me. So because we were military, when my husband was deployed, I was entitled to a few free babysitting. Like they would take the kids, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 hours once a week in the morning time. I relied on a lot of girlfriends. Like we would work out, I'll babysit your kids, you babysit my kids. And then even just trying to get, like a bike ride, like do a bike ride with other families. So I really relied on what was available to me. All of the free library programs, oh my gosh, anything that was free. I tell you, I could take my kids to McDonald's for $10 and I would take them to the play place and I could buy them all one large pop. And then I think it was like a large hamburger, or maybe it was three little hamburgers and one big French fries. I know I gave my kids McDonald's back then because I needed a break. I didn't want to cook. I would have a coffee and I would let them run around the play place. So you find
no judgment here.
That's what I used to do, or go to the park. I know when the weather was better. Oh my gosh, the park was my saving grace. So but like I said, I just kind of did what I could and got through it. And then as I started to realize I was going through burnout at work, and basically my husband told me, I was just, you go on this robotic, like it was, you go to work and I deal with work and then I come home and then there was kid activities and then that was it. There was nothing left of me. And he kind of gave me an aha moment. One day he just looked at me and he was like, this isn't fair. And I'm like, what do you mean this isn't fair? I'm going to work, get out of my way. And he's like, everybody else gets your awesome and I get this. And that I was like, okay. So I had to make a change. So where am I? See, I digress. That's not in my notes. Okay, so I'd like to begin with a statement here. So I want you to listen to this sentence. All cravings, symptoms, or behaviors around food have a positive intention. And so cravings are not the problem. They're a symptom of your body being out of balance physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the craving is really just the body's request for balance and the soul's request for realignment. So cravings are positive, and it's our body's way of trying to say, hey, I need to go back into that homeostasis state, like bring me back into balance. So you know how everything is like, we have opposites, light, dark, yin, yang, noisy, loud. Well, it's the same with our activities and our food choices. So if we're doing too many contracted activities, you're going to crave light and spacey foods, such as, and I call these the quick fixes: wine, in my case it'd be wine, so alcohol, wine, alcohol, Advil, or food. You go for sugar. You crave, like, I don't know, some people are totally into candies and they can't control themselves around candies. For me, it's like chocolate chip cookies, chocolate or chocolate cake or pies. So you go for those, I call it the quick fixes and like the sugar binge, right? Like you want sugar and you don't know why. And it's like this uncontrollable force. Like I become a hurricane. I need to have the sugar, but it's because my body is out of balance. I'm so exhausted. So my body is looking for a quick way to relax. When I worked at the hotel, I was drinking a glass of wine every day that ended in day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it started out, I'll just have one on Thursday. And then that trickled all the way till next Wednesday. And I was like, there might be a problem here. And it was my way of relaxing. I needed to find a way to decompress. So, okay. Contractive activities could also include overtraining, staying up late, studying, extra stress, physical and emotional stress. And then we need to balance that out. So the right way to do that would maybe be a bath or reading a book or going for a walk or listening to some music, finding that way to actually decompress your body and bring yourself down. So, one of my clients that I worked with, she was a high executive in a sales and marketing position and lots of stress at work, loved it. Like, sometimes stress can be positive, right? So loves her job. She's been there forever. But then, coming home to her kids, it was that transition. It was so stressful. And then coming home to the kids. And as soon as she walked in the door, it was like, Mom, what's for dinner? Mom, I need to go here. Mom, I need to do this. Mom. And she was just like, holy. So having that decompression time, maybe it's just from work to home, or maybe it's something bigger. And that's like where the one-on-one comes in. But that's when we have to figure out how we can set up boundaries and help you learn how to decompress and how to have those positive transitions, depending on your individual needs, right? So what happens to most of us is that if we're doing too many contractive activities, we will crave the quick fixes. And also, the opposite is true as well. So in my bio, Renee said that I'm a Reiki master. So I do work with other healers. And I find this quite common is, so the mediums and psychics that I work with, they operate in the top 3 chakras because they're always connecting. So they're always up here working in a different dimension, right? So then when they kind of come down, their body is searching to be grounded. You know, they're dealing from a different kind of stress, and their bodies, their physical body, their physical self is saying, okay, like, let's get grounded, let's come down. So a natural way, you know, like walk around in the grass, get outside, go to the woods, you know, what can you do to be grounded? But a lot of them will crave burgers and fries. It's like if you drink too much, if you know, you're, woo, it's party time and I'm going to have all the wine and I'm going to have all the sugar and I'm going to have ice cream and I'm going to have some cake and I'm going to celebrate. And then what happens the next day? You want like grease. You want, oh, I want to drive through and have like a hamburger and fries, or I want bacon and eggs and hash browns. You crave the grease because your body is trying to recalibrate. It's been spacey, it's been light and lifted, so now it's trying to bring itself back down. So both can happen, right? That's our polarity. And again, what are you craving? And how are you being? What are your activities? Because usually your activities will cause the cravings. Make sense? Yes? Okay. This takes time to figure out. And then you may start to emotionally beat yourself up, because if you keep going through the drive-through for the burger and fries and you realize that you're drinking a glass of wine every single evening instead of just on Friday nights, you get stuck in that self-sabotaging cycle and you're stuck in this loop. And then you start to realize that you're reaching for the quick fix instead of saying, what do I need? You know, what do I really need? How can I decompress? How can I recalibrate my body? Why am I craving this? Why am I acting like a crazy person, needing this glass of wine or needing that piece of chocolate cake? What's going on? Or needing those, you know, the little sugar candies that the kids always want. I'm not a candy person, but I know some people are. So how often do you blame yourself for overeating or not eating enough? And I have a question. What if you could love yourself enough and start to nourish yourself with food and activities instead of punishing yourself for what you did or didn't eat or did or didn't do? What if we could flip it and flip the script and start treating yourself, saying, okay, something's out of balance here. How can I fix it? So how can I realign my body and treat myself with love instead of abusing it with food? And like I said before, it can also apply to spending habits, sexual habits, eating, drugs, and alcohol. So have you ever hit burnout? Do you know what it feels like? Does any of this, you know, are there any kind of red flags coming up for you as I'm listing everything? And you might be in the middle of it right now, or you might know someone that you care about deeply. You know, I might have been like you saying, oh, Katrina, I know someone that is exactly what you're describing. So here's what I know for sure. And I'm going to keep to notes so I don't go off on a tangent. Number one, it's okay to ask for help. And I wish I would have done that a long time ago and said, I need help. You know, I can't handle this. I did handle it, but it just would have been so much better. And it really does take a village, you know, if anything, just for our own sanity. So giving yourself permission to ask for help and then accept the help when it's offered is a huge step in the right direction. I did actually have a meeting with my department heads, and I had to put up personal boundaries because people were calling me all hours, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I actually promoted one of the department heads and made him the night manager. And I was like, I empower you to troubleshoot any issue that comes up between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you can call me, but from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., all hands on deck go to you. So he felt his, you know, was a male, so his little feathers were all ruffled, and he was like, oh, great. And that definitely took a little bit of stress off of me. So it did help. At the end, I ended up quitting the job anyways, but that was because I wanted to do this and give my family, you know, the best of me instead of the worst of me. So we sometimes put up such a strong front that we can handle it all. And then when we seek advice from mom or grandma, you know, they might say, oh, well, I had 6 kids. I figured it out. And I did this without any help. You know, so sometimes that kind of a reaction is put on you. And I don't know, I'm like, I'm not you. And I don't want to do it the way you did. You're a little crazy, Ma. So I need some help. I'm saying I need help. And there are, I mean, at least today, there's a lot of resources and free library programs.
Yeah.
So I've made significant changes, quit the corporate job, full-time coach. Number 2 would be finding balance is different for everyone. And I'm not sure if it's necessarily finding balance anymore that we're looking for, but it's really paying attention to your body and connecting to yourself. I think it's more really understanding you, what lights you up, what fills you up, what relaxes you. And, you know, sometimes I have to unplug and stay in bed all day. And I'm not going to feel guilty about that. It's okay to just stay in bed all day. And sometimes I do sleep. And sometimes I, you know, go for 400 hours at a time, you know, and that's okay. And that's, I've kind of found my natural rhythm. But I encourage everybody to find their own natural rhythm and know what you need to refill. It wasn't until I met my second husband that I really understood that it was okay to relax. Like he would come home and put his pajamas on after work and have supper and chill. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, we have stuff to do. And he's like what? I'm like, I don't know. There's always something to do. Like, we're parents. You can't relax. And he was like, and that was his big thing, is every other word that came out of his mouth was relax. Relax. I'm like, you're gonna get that engraved somewhere, babe. But and if we ever stress out, he says, relax. So that's like his, I don't know, like his code word or his, I can't think of the word right now, but his, you know what I mean? And so it was, I guess, just needing the permission to relax and to be able to just be was okay. So I think, you know, as women, we overachieve, and we need to know how to put that oxygen mask on us first so that we can continue being overachievers. Also setting up personal boundaries. So that's, again, becoming aware of your own energy cup, noticing your energy input versus your output, and understanding your needs. If you can do this, if you can connect to your body, then you're able to stop a burnout before it happens. And personally, like I don't really get sick anymore, but I will hit a level of exhaustion. I hit like a wall of brain fog, and I just need a day. And that's like an unplugged day. And I only need one day, but it's not like I have a cough or a runny nose or a migraine. Like I think I can stop the burnout before it comes, because my body's like, okay, we're doing too much, so we're not going to think anymore. And it's almost like my brain just shuts off and my body's like, you need rest. So, and I know my signs now, but being able to connect to your body and understand those signs, you can stop a burnout before it happens. And everyone's threshold is different, so no comparisons. So don't beat yourself up if Susie down the street can handle more than you, or if she seems like she's handling more than you, or you're watching Facebook and you're like, oh my God, she's got it going on, like, holy smokes. That's fake. So don't compare yourself to anybody. And then also, as we teach in coaching, small hinges swing big doors. So we need to start adding in consistent baby steps. And those baby steps, the little small things that we do to change, to pay attention, to notice, to recognize, to understand that's happening in our own body, in our own life, around, you know, basically what's happening in your home and how it's affecting you personally, energy-wise, that's where it starts. And then paying attention to that will lead to the bigger changes. And it's all about consistency, not perfection. So I do, in all of my coaching programs, I talk about the 5 steps to transformation. And whatever topic I'm working with my clients, I relate it to those 5 steps. So I just want to go over the 5 steps of transformation in relation to burnout. Following notes. So number 1 is step back. This is, if you're experiencing burnout, it might be time to say, okay, just a minute. Oh my gosh, this is happening to me. I need to figure out, you know, are you giving too much of yourself? How are you experiencing overwhelm? How is it showing up for you? So it's just kind of like recognizing and being aware that this is happening. Number 2 is let go. What beliefs are you holding that you need to let go of? So if I think back to my early 20s, let's fast forward that a little bit. If I think back to being a new mom, I thought that I had to do it all. Like, it was my responsibility to do everything because my husband wasn't home and I was a stay-at-home mom. And it was also a little bit of guilt because I wasn't financially contributing to the family. So I felt that I had to do everything at home, the groceries, the cleaning, the food prep, bathing the kids, cooking the dinner, taxi, nurse, whatever hat mom wears. That was my job because I wasn't bringing any money into the family. Yes, that is to a degree because, I wasn't working, but there's also supposed to be a partnership. I mean, that's the whole reason you got married in the first place and had babies, right? Is to like raise these beautiful beings together, be mom and dad together. That's why I'm divorced. Okay. So what do you need to let go of? What beliefs do you need to let go of? And I think if I could rewind to that time, I would have let go of the guilt. I didn't need to carry that around and I didn't need to work so bloody hard. It would have been okay to relax once in a while. Number 3 is say yes to self. And this one is really learning how to step into your superpower and anchor in your new beliefs. Choosing to give yourself the oxygen first, allowing yourself the love and compassion you need to continue killing it every day. How can you fill your energy cup up? Number 4 is taking empowered action. So with burnout, what are you doing to improve your situation? If you're aware of this, how can you set up some personal boundaries? What are some steps that you can start taking right now? How are you acting upon your new anchored beliefs? So for me, instead of drinking the wine every night, I've learned how to create a killer morning routine and a really great power down hour. And I know that sounds very cliche and you've probably heard a lot of life coaches talk about it, but if you actually do it, I'm telling you, it makes a world of difference. And doing it without a life coach telling you to do it, it really sets your day, your week up for success. I now will treat myself to salt baths and face masks on Friday night instead of glasses of wine. And then I make sure that I have a massage once a month or some sort of a treatment. Maybe it's hair, maybe it's a healing treatment, and I just need it once a month. And I also do cardio every single morning. And that cardio, that sweat sesh, the first 4 weeks sucked, but now I crave it. Now my body is like, okay, like we are in a rhythm and we have a momentum. And like I say, that morning routine, like I love mornings. All right, I digress. See? So, number 5, set up accountability. It's having someone to support and stretch you, such as a coach or a mentor, and to make sure that you hold yourself accountable and not revert back to old beliefs or old habits, because it's very easy to slip back into those old patterns when, there's so much more that we could be living and experiencing in life when we have hold of everything. All right, so what if all of your desires, the pulls that you feel, the ideas, the things that spark you, inspire you, turn you on, are all there for a purpose? What if these desires are pulling you and begging you to become the person that you were meant to be? You have those because it's your inner niggle, your inner self, pushing you towards the path you're supposed to be on. If you're there or if you're not there, you have those for a reason. So it's just connecting you and keeping you on your path. My specialty is working with women to help them connect to their bodies and learn how to set up personal boundaries, become aware of their energy, input versus output. And in that awareness, we can stop a binge and a burnout before it actually happens. And that's all I have to talk about for now.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot of good information, for sure. It's funny, as you were going through the 12 stages of burnout, I had a similar experience at one of my previous jobs when I was in technology, and I thought I ended up on stress leave, but now I look back and I wonder if it was burnout. And that's what one of my questions is there a difference between just stress and burnout?
Yeah, so burnout is chronic stress. It's when the stress doesn't stop. You can have a stressful day, you can have a stressful week, but the stress comes to an end. when you are sitting in, like when stress turns chronic, when you are physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted, lethargic, you are like resistance, your walls are up, that's burnout. Yeah.
Yeah. I never labeled it that, but now that I look back and I see these 12 steps, I'm like, that's exactly what happened.
I don't think that people bring it to light enough. I think that it's not like, it's kind of a new thing. It's like a new buzzword that's going everywhere, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been around forever. And everybody wants to have a diagnosis like, oh, I have this problem or I have this problem. Stress is definitely, so stress comes down to coping mechanisms, right? So that's creating and building up your resiliency. How do we deal with stress? Well, we have to go into the resiliency bucket and we have to strengthen that. But for burnout, if you're already there, then that's different. I saw the question come in.
Yeah. Question from Chris. Approximately how long does it take to recover from burnout once you recognize you've burnt out from chronic stress? Or is it individualistic?
Yeah, I would definitely say it would be individual. I mean, it depends on everyone's circumstances and it depends on the boundaries that you can set up. And, like maybe you just need a week to say, okay, enough, and you power down and you kind of reset yourself. And in that week, you've been able to set up some boundaries. I don't know if it's workplace stress or if it's personal stress, but you need to find ways of coping with that, especially if you have to return to work. So like I did, I was like, okay, you're going to be the night manager. So no one call me between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. That was, personal boundary number one. And then number two, I wanted to have manager meetings every Monday morning. I'm like, you guys have to stop dumping everything on me because you're all department heads and you're all getting paid to manage that department. So let's start having a meeting. Let's discuss what needs to be discussed. You guys are the, ones that are running that department. You can just run things through me and I might advise, but this is your department. This is why you're the supervisor. Mm-hmm. So it's what can you do to set up those boundaries? And then if it's at home, that was me like, okay, McDonald's, library programs, mom and talk groups, the park, what can I do to help manage my day better? And it's really just going back to setting up those simple things. But I mean, sometimes you just need a friend to give you a good conversation, like have a good chat and then troubleshoot, like how can we fix this? What's going to work?
Yeah. Awesome. It's funny, and I totally understand it being individualistic because when I had gone on the stress leave, I had to do therapy and stuff. So one thing that resonated with me, which I think is very similar to what you were saying, is that some people like vibrate, or I don't know if vibrate's the right word, but they're at a certain level. Like if you say your cup is full and like this is full, like up to the top of your head. Some people operate here and that's normal for them. Some people are lower, but how it was explained to me really resonated with me because I'm one of those people that will operate here. So it doesn't take much for me to go ballistic. And that's what I've had to learn is how to kind of bring this down a little bit in my everyday life. And it's funny because my sister's actually on the call. And we always say, there's always this, I'm not going to go into this story, but there was this Tupperware incident that I had that I was vibrating here and then something switched at home. And then I flew off the handle off some bizarre little thing, but it was because I opened a cupboard, Tupperware fell out. Like it wasn't, how Tupperware is. It's just their plastic containers. They're a mess. It came out and I lost it. I threw all of them, like they were everywhere. And my sister called it the Tupperware stomp because I was just like breaking everything. But it's like, you get to a point where you lose it. And then people are like, what the heck happened? Like, it's not that big a deal. Well, to you as an individual, you don't, nobody knows where you're operating at. And that's what I had to learn. So I can totally see this as well. If you're at work and you already have that chronic stress, so you're probably already pretty full. Your cup is pretty full already.
Well, I'll share a personal story real quick. So when my kids were younger, like my youngest was 13 months. Let's say she was 2 And then I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So those are the ages I was taking care of my girls. And my husband at the time was in Afghanistan, Canadian military. And so my youngest, she got pneumonia. We were in the hospital. We were in there for weeks. We didn't know it was pneumonia. She was going through all these kinds of tests. I was relying on like great grandparents to look after the other two because they were the only family that was there. And they had us all in isolation. I couldn't leave the baby. And then, okay, so she was diagnosed with pneumonia, put her on some puffers, get her on some antibiotics, bring her home, get her healed. That's fine. Then she started going through night terrors, and this kid did not sleep. And I was like, all I wanted was sleep. And that was one of my, like huge stressors. Like, what makes you angry? Lack of sleep, man. Like, I needed some sleep. And so when he was in Afghanistan, we were given contact people. And these contact people would come and check in on you, how you doing, how you're managing, and the guy that I had who would check on me and my kids routinely, he was great, very friendly. He was a dad himself, and he was a very personable person. He'd set us up with like, do you want some pizza nights? So we'd go to like the center and you could like have pizza and a movie every now and again. So we would do, again, one of my other little outings. And so it got really bad to the point where I wasn't sleeping at all. And I was like, I need help. Like, I don't know how much more of this I can handle. I think we were like, 6 months in, and he still had another 7 or 8 weeks of completing his tour. And so this guy looked at me like the whatever liaison, and he said, well, do you want me to bring your husband home? And I said, you could do that? And he's like, yeah, like Katrina, this is pretty serious. Like, you're not sleeping. You're having a really hard time with the kids. You don't have any family to help you. We can pull him off tour and bring him home. And I said, well, would he get to go through decompression? And they said, no, we would just take him out of Afghanistan and fly him home to you. And I said, well, what the hell is that going to do? You're going to take him out of one stressful situation and put him into a different kind of stressful situation. He misses his decompression time. I said, so that doesn't actually help me. That's just going to make it worse. Then I'm going to have this screwed up soldier to deal with. And so he just looked at me and he was like, I've never heard a woman say that. Most wives are like, oh my God, do it. And I was like, well, what's the point? And so that actually, the realization of that really helps me when I'm coaching one-on-one, have that decompression and transition time. Now, I'm not talking coming from Afghanistan to home, but I mean, there's still high stress levels. Like you say, it depends where you're vibrating, where are you on that level? And no one really knows except for you. And sometimes you don't even know. You could just be, sleep deprived and then having a really stressful day at work. And then you come home, you open the cupboard, Tupperware flies everywhere and you lose it, absolutely. And actually my 13-year-old, she said to me, I kind of like went off on her one day. I don't remember what she did, but I just was like yelling at her. And she looked at me and she said, Mom, you're not really mad at me. You're just really tired and you had a bad day. And I was like, you are amazing. Yeah, you're right. I'm still mad. I'll talk to you in the morning. So you got to leave me alone and just understand that you need to leave me alone. But, we get like that. We're women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was another kind of red flag for me. That was like, I gotta quit the hotel. Like that. I love my family. I love my kids and I don't want to be, horrible.
Yeah. And that's usually what happens too. The ones you love are the ones that take the brunt of,
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Especially if it is work related stress and you come home and yeah, that's tough. All right. So we have another question from Chris. So COVID had been a double-edged sword in that it's great to be home with the kids, but the decompression train ride home from work is missing. And I've really noticed it. So it's more of a statement, but.
Yeah, yes, 100%. Yes, there are pros and cons from working at home. Hey, I love you little buggers. Now move so I can go flip the laundry in between calls. But that, like that's for me, that's why I have that morning routine and the power down hour. I make sure that I get the cardio done in the morning. I'm not like a really out, like I don't leave the house to do things, but I mean, changing your state. So having a state change would mean maybe you need to leave the house for, when your husband comes home, or if you have a neighbor that can look after the kids, like just go for a walk around the block, and we have to look at what are the little things that we can do that is going to help me today. And like I say, the small hinges swing big doors. So it's always those little baby things, like mine was McDonald's. Go play at McDonald's, it gives me at least 45 minutes of them running around, and then I could take them home, give them a bath, and put them to bed. Mm-hmm. So it's what can we do at home at least we can still go outside, and the weather is better now. So I'll walk around the block, or maybe it's having a really killer evening routine. The kids are in bed, and then you can have a cup of tea and read a book, or binge out on Netflix, or, do something that can replenish your energy. But as long as you prioritize that and make this your time to replenish your energy, it's finding those little snippets. And sometimes I called them my ninja naps. So when I was a mom, I'm still a mom. When I was a stay-at-home mom back then, I would gate the kids in the living room and put on like Dora, because they would pay attention to Dora. They would actually watch Dora. So that was my ninja nap time. I'd lay down on the couch, and all I needed was 20 minutes, man. So I would be like out. I'd ask my middle child, she'd brush my hair. God love her, when they used to play with my hair and enjoy it. Now I'm like, please play with my hair. No. So I have to go pay for it. But when I was little, they go, oh, brush mommy's hair. And I would pass out. It was like the best ninja nap ever. So we have to find those solutions that are going to refill our cup. And it's not like I don't have time for a spa, or a whole weekend away, but maybe I can get a ninja nap, or maybe I can get a walk around the block. It's what can we do?
That's awesome. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody else? Feel free to type them in the chat if you have anything, or Q&A, or raise your hand. This is great though. I think you've answered all my questions, but I love how you talked about, because I think that's what I used to do, is I would go for the wine to wind down. Like,
it's quick and it's easy, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, it's a no-brainer, and just and then you start to feel a little better.
And it's more or less, it's not actually the drink itself. it's the routine of it. It's just that the habit for like having it there, doing whatever else you're doing, because you're not just, at least I wasn't just sitting there looking at the glass and drinking it. I was, obviously either catching up on social media, or reading a book, or watching TV, or whatever, but it was still that habit. And
my glass of wine was always my cooking assistant.
Yes.
It made dinner time way more exciting, because I hate cooking.
Yes.
I don't do it anymore. I don't, now I food prep. So now I make sure that all of my meals are done on Sunday, and then I don't have to think about it, and then I have more time for everything else in my life.
Yeah. So Deb says, I recognize myself in so many of your statements. You've helped me understand some of my feelings. Thanks.
That makes me so happy. Good. An aha moment.
Yeah. This was really helpful for me, because I never really thought of burnout. I really, really never thought I was one that had been burned out. But obviously, that's exactly what happened to me, and I can totally see it in others now. Like, now I know it before. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm hoping, like, I want to shine some genuine light on it, because, like, yes, there's stress and anxiety and depression, and yes, there's mental health, but maybe you're just burnt out, babe, and we can fix that. You don't need to go on meds. You don't need to think that you're crazy. You don't necessarily need stress leave. Maybe we can fix it by just setting up some boundaries. Maybe we can fix it by finding how to add in ninja naps, whatever it is. Maybe we can just have a conversation, get it all off your chest, and then find some doable solutions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. So I do want to let you, if you have anything you want to put in the chat, like a contact info, as you guys know that have been on my sessions before, I will send out an email tomorrow with information, and Katrina will also send you a thank you with her info as well. But if there's anything you want to say about what you're doing right now, Katrina, you can go ahead. Chris says, thanks for the great session. Yeah, it was very good. It was very good.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you showed up. It's good. It's, you know, it's just kind of nice to have you're here right now.
Yes. Yeah. It is nice when, yeah, exactly. When people can get some benefit too by asking questions. It's great. Works out.
I'm just putting my website and my Facebook group.
Okay. Yes.
In the chat.
I am a part of Katrina's Facebook group, and it's actually a really good group. So absolutely. Check it out. And for those of you that are on, you can save, in case you're not aware, you can save the chat by clicking on the three, well, on the PC, it's the three little dots in the chat box. You can, there's a little option to save chat if you need to. I'm going to put my information for those of you that don't know me, if you want, as well. And then we'll send out the information tomorrow. And is there anybody else that has any questions before we wrap this up? And if not, that's okay. We'll let you guys go. And thank you so much, Katrina, for joining us tonight.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad it all worked out for you guys didn't know this, but it was touch and go whether or not we were going to have it tonight, because Katrina is actually from New Brunswick. What town are you from? In
Oromocto.
Oromocto, okay.
I live in Oromocto. Yeah, New Brunswick. I never thought I would be here.
Anyway, they had a power outage all day, and then you got that, and then didn't have internet.
And then
so it was touch and go. Whether
and I was like, it's 2021.
Oh,
your brother worked there for 2 years. Yeah. It's pretty, well, it's military town, you know. My husband, he's ex-military, but we're going to stay here because we can afford a house here. I don't know. I don't think he knows it's live.
Oh.
Hey, babe, guess what?
You're recorded. You're on this forever.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, then. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and have a great evening. And then hopefully I'll see you guys next week for my next session. And I think it's around getting to know your pain, if I'm not mistaken. I have a whole bunch lined up for July, so I think that's the next one. But anyway, the information's there if you want to check out the next event. And thanks everyone for joining, and have a great evening. Bye.